because you know what? First of all, it's not sustainable. It's not a renaissance. It's not what's going to bring the state back, just throwing around tax dollars. We've got to be competitive, and we're not. We're dead last 50th in all the wrong categories. Does throwing around some bucks in Buffalo make us a lower tax state? Does bring all the jobs back? Because they're fleeing. I mean, you look at the economic numbers that came out a couple weeks ago. Upstate had zero growth. In fact, counties had negative growth. The Hudson Valley, Long Island had minuscule growth. Except for the island of Manhattan, the rest of the state's doing very poorly and has been. So, you couple that with the absolute corruption going on in Albany that potentially he's now part of, and it's no wonder why people are escaping New York.
How do you get your message out against the $30 million war chest?
Your microphone, their microphones. No, look, you know what? We're traveling all over the place. This is the same story. Money doesn't buy a win. That's not a guarantee. He's going to have to raise more money to try to defend his record. We're going to raise enough to get our message out, and that message is going to be hope. It's going to be turning the state around. It's going to be showing what we did in Westchester. And, I'm going to outwork him. I may not outspend him, but ultimately, just like Governor Pataki said in the video earlier, he was down 17 points or whatever it was the day of the election. I was down, I think, 11 points the day of my election, and I started 30 points down as that race. Ultimately, people decide. And no matter how many slanderous ads he throws up on TV, which is pretty much a sign of desperation, and we're only in May, people are smarter than that.
Rob, when do you expect to start rolling out ads and commercials, and how quickly will you be on the air?
I don't know, to be very honest with you. I mean, we have the concepts, we've already shot some commercials, but when they're going to go up, I'm not sure.
Mr. County Secretary, you've been saying natural gas exploration.
Yeah.
You're not saying fracking. Can you explain what natural gas exploration means to you?
Hydrofracking. But you know what? Fracking has become a bad word.
Okay,
so I'm using a better word, clean natural gas exploration, which is what they do all over the country. 30 states are doing it, led in many ways by Democrats. President Obama favors it. You hear our two senators in New York, both Democrats, just came out in favor of natural gas exploration. And now you've got the governor continuously sitting on his hands and not making a decision because he's afraid of Yoko Ono or whomever.
So you'd make that decision right now?
I've made my decision, absolutely. What we would do is immediately we would begin the process of making sure the public health is guarded. We would then work on proper regulations, and then once that's approved, and it would not be a long process because we just have to learn from 30 other states, and they've already been working on it for 5-6 years. I can't imagine what else is left to learn. And then we would go forward, and we would start reaping the benefits of this, always with the public health first in mind.
You say that is that 1994 playbook. You referenced Governor Pataki and how he came from behind. What do you take from that? What are the lessons from that?
Well, it's really the same lessons I learned in 2009 when I was running. You know, the whole narrative at the beginning is who, and then it's you can't win, and then a couple months go by and maybe, I can see some cracks in the economy, etc. And then we get our message out, and all of a sudden it's, this is going to be an interesting race. And then all of a sudden, on election night, we won, and everybody was stunned. But we knew all along in 2009, just like we believe here, that we're going to win this race. Everything was right. The timing was right. The message was right. The incumbent did not do what he said he was going to do. In fact, made it worse. And so people want hope. They want change. And they certainly want a state that they can live in. And right now, it's basically unaffordable for many people. And they're trapped. That's the worst part. 41% said they would leave the state if they could. But imagine that, they can't leave.
Rob, you said that you're going where Democrats are, because you need more than just Republican votes. Are you going to be in Suffolk County and Melville next week?
We'll be in Suffolk, we'll be in Nassau, we'll be everywhere.
Next week.
It's why I launched my campaign in the Bronx. And people were scratching their head and said, why would you go to the Bronx? You can't find a Republican who tried, right?
Varela was elected.
Well, and that's one of the reasons. You know why? He was active in his community. And I'm not giving up any votes. We're going to all different neighborhoods to ask for support, to show that there's a different side, there's an alternative to the same that we've been getting, the status quo. And we're going to make a big difference everywhere. And that's how I won Westchester. When people said you can't do it because it's 2-1 Democrat, I honestly don't look at people as Democrat or Republican, or there'd be a lot of people who are talking You know, my neighbor across the street, she's as liberal as you come. We've got a great relationship, and she voted for me.
Are you going to change? Are you going to do something next week to distract attention away from Democrats?
You know, that's the dirty politics and the stuff that we're used to from him. But I'm going to continue to go around the state. I don't know if I'll make a stop in Melbourne. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, Rob, what do you think of Andrew Cuomo? You know, you've been mentioning kind of dirty tactics.
What do you mean? As a person or as a governor or
As everything, as a candidate, how do you feel he's taken this race? How would you characterize him as an opponent?
You just have to look at his actions. For him to be on New York City TV now with despicable ads, in essence calling me a racist and Westchester segregated, just tells you all you need to know about his character, I think, and where he thinks this race is going. I did expect that from him in September and October when his warning bells were going to go off. But you know what? He sees what we see, and we feel what he feels, and that there is a big undercurrent in this state. There is a movement in this state to stop the nonsense, to get rid of the corruption, to finally not have these politicians promise, and not do anything about it. That's why we got elected in Westchester, re-elected, because we did what we said we would do.
Is New York any better now than it was 4 years ago? Any element of it?
You'd have to ask the people that, and they're going to be asked that, and they're going to make a determination in November. I would argue the radical reform that Andrew Cuomo promised us in his State of the State address in January of 2010 has not happened. He was right then. Absolutely right. It's why I'm running now. And I wouldn't have had to run if he did what he said he would do, because just tinkering around the edges is not going to take this state from the depths of hell where we're at in 50th spot to its greatness again. Okay, thank you guys.
Oh, that's